Number 1. Naturally, most of the secrets and trivia from Undertale's 10th anniversary came from the charity stream, and this first one is no exception. While playing through Waterfall, the door leading to Room Mystery Man, better known as Gaster's door, appeared. What's interesting is that in the original game, this door has a grayish hue reminiscent of Gaster's followers. Here, however, it was the same color as a door to Sans and Papyrus' house, lending even more credibility to the theory that the skeleton brothers are somehow connected to Gaster. Number 2. Speaking of Papyrus, Toby revealed that his date was originally meant to have a much crueler and more abrupt ending. It wasn't until his friend Jones cried over how mean it was, and 2 other testers confirmed Toby was being soulless, that he changed it to the friendly conclusion we all know. During this part of the stream, we also saw Papyrus in a new outfit. His cool dude shirt was replaced with a cook dude one, and he wore a hat that looked more like a chef's toque than his usual cap. Number 3. One of the first signs that this playthrough would be different came right before entering Toriel house. The room that was originally a balcony overlooking home, or Old Home, the former monster capital, was now a long hallway leading into a part of the old capital itself. The Deltarune symbol was displayed above an entrance, with its triangles inverted, similar to how it appears in the windows of the last corridor. In front of the entrance, several buildings were visible, along with a statue resembling Toriel in the center of the area. The toy knife, originally found on the balcony, is now inside a building next to a bookshelf filled with books from many different places. Number 4. The ruins are the first area players explore in Undertale, with many of its aspects, like area names, puzzles, and wall plaques, being inspired by the game Brandish. It's also home to Toriel, one of the game's most beloved characters. Toby Fox revealed a personal motivation for creating her: his dissatisfaction with the mother figure in Mother 3. He felt it was important to create a maternal character who existed beyond her role as a mother, with her own distinct personality and depth. This was the seed for Toriel design. He also confirmed that Toriel appearance was inspired by the Mimigar from Cave Story. Originally, she was going to have a more humanoid mother goddess look, but Toby felt it was too similar to Breath of Fire 3. A final small detail: a mobile now hangs over Asriel Dreamer's crib in Toriel home, and it spins when the lights are turned off. Number 5. Several character names, including Napstablook and Asgore, came from a random word generator. As for their theme, Ghost Fight was originally composed for a Super Nintendo-style music compilation. Although Toby doesn't personally associate Napstablook with jazz, he chose the genre because he's a fan of the game OFF, where a jazz track plays during battles with ghost enemies. He thought it was a fitting combination. Number 6. Frogget's design was intentionally made confusing, leaving it ambiguous whether its second face is part of the monster or a separate creature. For the most part, Toby avoided plant-like monsters because of Flowey, but made an exception for Vegetoid out of fear that the player might be lacking vitamin A. He clarified that Vegetoid isn't technically a plant, just a monster that looks like one. In the demo, it was impossible to spare this enemy without attacking first, a design choice Toby admitted wasn't great. On a side note, Luke's was the first enemy designed by Temmie Chang. Number 7. The inspiration for Sans and Papyrus came from Toby's friend, J.N. Weedle, also known as Jones, who is a huge fan of skeletons. Jones's webcomic, Helvetica, is about a skeleton named after a font, so Toby followed suit, naming his own characters after what he called the most annoying fonts in history. He mentioned that when Undertale was being developed, hating on the Comic Sans and Papyrus fonts was a popular meme, and he finds it funny that the joke lost its punch after the game's release. For the Japanese translation, the plan was to use the Soei Kaku Poptai font for its fun, lighthearted style, but that fell through. Toby couldn't recall the final choice, but I looked it up. They used Soikaku Poptai, which is considered tacky and irreverent. A final fun fact about Papyrus: his dialogue is written top to bottom and right to left, mimicking traditional Japanese writing. Number 8. Sans' music was originally created for an early version of Deltarune. It was intended for a gym and card castle where several Rudins would be working out, with one of them saying, "The brain is the strongest muscle of all." According to Toby, the entire scene was a reference to a gym in the game's Space Funeral. The melody itself was inspired by In and Out Crowd from Sesame Street. The connection is interesting. Canotines, the artist who inspired Deltarune's designs, is a fan of animator Sally Crookshank. This led Toby to watch all of her animations, and after finding In and Out Crowd, he decided to pay homage to the song as a musical exercise. Number 9. Snowdin is filled with dogs, and Toby confessed this is because Temmie Chang, one of the lead artists, absolutely loves dogs, whereas he actually prefers cats. The inspiration for a lesser dog came from an inside joke. Temmie had a Pomeranian, and Toby found it so amusing that he would constantly send her the same picture of a Pomeranian, calling it new concept art. Over time, the joke escalated, and he started editing the photo to stretch the dog's neck longer and longer. This recurring gag led directly to lesser dog's design and in-game mechanic. Number 10. In a moment that proves Toby's word isn't always gospel, he seemed to confirm that the Mettaton-like machine Papyrus uses for the multicolor puzzle is, in fact, Mettaton himself. However, he followed this up with parenthetical question marks and ended by simply saying Metatron. Number 11. Right after this, we found another new area accessible via a downward tunnel near the mystery door. This led to a pine forest where a lumberjack NPC was chopping down trees because they looked too much like him. He reflected on his work obsession, noting he rarely goes to the surface and that it's easy to forget there's a whole world of people you've never spoken to. He mused that only someone like Asgore could get everywhere. You can exit this area via a dog-shaped elevator, which takes you right past the third XOXO puzzle. Number 12. Toby mentioned that Bone Trussel was originally meant to be Deltarune's regular encounter theme. Similarly, Nyahaha was composed as Lancer's theme and a 2012 concept for the game. On the art side, the Gauntlet of Deadly Terror had several extra parts drawn by Temmie that went unused. Her favorite was a drawing of the annoying dog hanging from a rope. Another funny detail, Toby can't remember how he created the fog effect for Papyrus's battle, only that it was something that was reflected. Number 13. A new NPC, identical to a young Noelle from Deltarune, can now be found semi-hidden behind the tree in the center of Snowdin Town. The inn also has a change. The snoring guests now play the saxophone, performing the same melody as the theme, Determination. Finally, the Wrong Number song call has new dialogue, and the song itself has been replaced with the Wrong Number remix by Camellia. Number 14. When donations hit $25,000, the Verse Sans incentive was unlocked. To see it, you enter the empty room in the dog shrine during the hangout with Papyrus after his fight. Inside, Sans is asked to join a charity verse battle. He's reluctant but agrees, starting to rap about himself. Papyrus quickly joins in, asking if they're saying verses, which kicks off a hilarious rap battle. The problem? Papyrus's computer broke due to a virus. He explains the CPU went on strike after he posted that he dislikes anime because it invites a childish worldview. Sans warns him he might just be a weird nerd and advises him to admit he was wrong. In the end, Papyrus realizes the virus was just a girl who downvoted his post. Satisfied, he sets his post to friends only and leaves, ending the battle. Number 15. Spamton burst into the stream through a hole in the wall, briefly replacing the hosts. During his takeover, Spamton A. Spamton controlled the game, substituting for Sans in the Grillbee's conversation, altering most of the dialogue, and even devouring a 258-pixel fry. The segment ended abruptly when he realized they were on a TV, which he found disgusting. Simultaneously, his flesh and blood counterpart received a call and had to leave, allowing the host to return. Number 16. Leaving the snow behind, we enter the glowing caves of Waterfall. Toby Fox clarified that Waterfall was the first area where the tile sets were created by artist Kantamihu, who would later design the tiles for Hotland as well. Regarding the NPC Lauren, Toby recounted that the concept from their Kickstarter backer Colin McDougall was for a guy who wants to eat everything, though Toby admits he doesn't remember the details well, and jokes that Lauren must have eaten his memories of it. Number 17. The punch card from the Nice Cream guy has been changed. It now features a drawing of a smiling bunny with the text, "It's okay if you leave, probably." Meanwhile, the Mad Dummy encounter isn't random. Toby explained he always wanted there to be a consequence for the player's actions with the first dummy, and this battle reinforces that. He mentioned it was a lot of fun remixing Napstablook's Deuce fight to create the battle theme Dummy. Speaking of combat, Toby revealed that monsters were originally intended to always be aligned with the grid, with their color changing depending on the zone. He planned the same for Deltarune, but forgot to implement it. Number 18. The Onion Sand section has been completely changed. Instead of the usual path, you now enter a bubble that flips the protagonist upside down and carries them to an underwater town filled with new NPCs. You can't speak to them as the dialogue box says their accents are incomprehensible. The exceptions are a character in a supposedly fireproof diving suit and Onion Sand. Instead of talking about their friends in a crowded aquarium, Onion Sand now says that they live in the aquarium, complaining about the lack of space and hoping Asgore breaks the barrier so they can finally swim in the ocean. Number 19. The spiderweb in Napstablook's house is now replaced with a fourth CD titled Mettaton Vocal Drama CD. The CD's content is just Mettaton repeating "oh yes" at various pitches and speeds. Separately, Toby mentioned some of Napstablook's traits were inspired by a college friend he hasn't spoken to since. He's not sure if his friend appreciated being part of the character's recipe, but he hopes so, because it would be very weird otherwise. Number 20. Toby reaffirmed that Temmie's unique way of speaking was inspired by how artist Temmie Chang used to type during development. He noted that she no longer writes that way, and even searched their chat history from the last 4 years without finding the word "hoi," which she once used frequently. He also shared that Chang has had mixed feelings about being so closely associated with the character, as people sometimes don't recognize her as a human being who does much more than just Undertale. Number 21. While Toby Fox wanted the characters in Undertale to feel like real people, each was created for a specific narrative purpose. Flowey introduces the conflict between violence and mercy. Papyrus is someone who is almost guaranteed to be your friend. They all evolve beyond their initial roles, but Toby's rule for character creation remains: purpose and function first, then personality. He describes his comedic foundation as two weird guys, an approach he's had since he was 5, when he would pretend his left and right hands were two different characters acting as comedic foils. Number 22. Toby reiterated that he didn't know Undyne's personality until he wrote the scene right before her battle, and much of her character was invented on the spot. Originally, she was planned to have a sort of knightly British accent, similar to Frog from Chrono Trigger, and be a much more serious character. In retrospect, Toby feels it was better that she ended up being a bit of a goofball. On a different note, he requested that the text "smells like sushi" remain unchanged in the Japanese translation. Even though sushi in Japan refers to vinegared rice and not necessarily fish, making sashimi a better fit, he felt the phrase was too famous to alter. Number 23. When designing the battle systems, Toby aimed for intuitive mechanics, even for players unfamiliar with the genre. He compared the green soul mechanic to rhythm games, saying it's probably a piece of cake for those who master them. During the date with Undyne, just before Papyrus leaves, she asks him to use the door. In true Papyrus fashion, he opens the window like a door and climbs out. Later, when Undyne asks the protagonist to leave, Papyrus reappears, spills glass shards from nowhere, and walks back in through the actual door, forcing the player to move aside. Number 24. Arriving in Hotland, we're greeted by Elfie's lab, which also marked a shift in the game's development. By this point, Temmie Chang was busy with her studies, so Toby and other artists took on more of the art duties. Toby himself drew many of the graphics for Elfie's lab, joking that this is the reason for any perceptible flaws. This collaboration is visible in small details. The dog food bag in the lab, the exterior of the MTT resort, and the happy break time attack sprite from Mettaton EX were all drawn by the artist Clairvoix. The area's theme, Another Medium, was originally composed for Homestuck but went unused, leading Toby to repurpose it for Undertale. Number 25. Elfie's name in the Japanese translation is Arafia, a suggestion from Toby himself. He later found out about the Japanese band The Alfie and expressed mild regret, as he prefers his characters to have unique, easily searchable names. Her voice clip is a sample from Zan Weatherall, who would later join the development team for Deltarune Chapter 2. Her visual design was primarily inspired by John Egbert from Homestuck, Lisa Simpson, and that lizard guy from Super Paper Mario, though Toby admits he's never actually played the latter. Number 26. Mettaton was included in the game to appeal to Toby's friends who were fans of Transformers. Another inspiration was the concept of an electric game show host, based on the character Bob Sparker from Tales from Electricopolis. Toby summarized Mettaton's purpose as an attempt to provide fan service for his friend Jones. A fun fact, the Japanese logo for cooking with a killer robot was drawn by Hato Moa, the creator of Hatoful Boyfriend and one of Undertale's earliest Japanese fans. Originally, Hotland was supposed to have more robotic NPCs, but the idea was scrapped to make Mettaton feel more unique and important to the story. Number 27. Sundar Plain's hat is based on Yukari Akuma's from the Touhou Project series. Even the glitch that causes her to shrink into the top left corner when spared was intentional because Toby thought it was funny. The character seems to have evolved from early enemy ideas for Hotland named Sundar 4 and JF27 Sundar. Toby also shared several scrapped concepts for the area, like the sweltering snowman, which would have been a reference to a fake Earthbound enemy invented as a joke by Reed Young on the Starman.net forums. Number 28. Among the discarded monster sprites for Hotland, drawn by another artist, Cap, was a green radioactive fox. This character, presumably a pawn on Toby's radiation fox credit, would have skateboarded on lava before dying. It was scrapped, and the annoying dog was created as Toby's avatar instead. We also saw several of Cap's other character designs, which included half-plant creatures, robots, and even eggs with legs. Toby also revealed that in addition to the known royal guards, another pair was planned. He had thought up outlandish situations for their deaths, such as one guard inhaling the other's dust and having a panic attack. A friend strongly disliked the idea, so it was cut, which Toby now thinks was for the best, calling the concept too edgy. Number 29. A new area was added in Hotland featuring floating buildings hanging from chains. Here, you'll find Hotland High, a new location with NPCs and Deltarune cameos like Milk Looker, who claims to have forgotten their uniform. Most notably, there's a classroom where a teacher who looks a lot like Birdly is teaching a class of unknown monsters, with the exception of Temmie. One student resembles a dinosaur with coloring similar to Susie's in the Dark World. Another, lying on their desk, has hair very similar to Chris's, though their green hand makes it clear they're a monster. Even a Mettaton in a schoolgirl uniform joins the class. The game's graphic files also reveal an unused character named Squidint, whose name and attire suggest they were intended for Hotland High. Number 30. The bomb defusal minigame has changed. The script bomb is replaced by a mad bomb that uses Mad Mew Mew's sprite. Instead of defusing it, the goal is to merge the character's head with their body. Additionally, a new NPC with a camera has been added to the rightmost platform of the Last Steam Vent puzzle. They're there to poke fun at how that specific room always appears in every trailer, and bears a strong resemblance to Shudda from Deltarune Chapter 3. Number 31. Toby is aware that many players find Muffet to be one of the hardest bosses and recalls nerfing her several times post-launch. At least one of her attacks was inspired by the arena from Kirby Superstar. Interestingly, the bullet board's movement during her attacks was achieved inefficiently by copying and pasting screen regions, which hurt performance on older computers. Her pet sprites were also polished by the artist Chess. Number 32. The musical segment with Mettaton was originally going to have a dialogue system that reacted to the player's dance moves. The script still exists in the game files, but Toby can't remember if the idea was scrapped because it felt weird or due to a bug. On a separate note, the player was initially supposed to be able to marry Mettaton in a sequence similar to the Papyrus date. Mettaton would have accepted, but only for a fake tabloid photo op. Ultimately, Toby lost interest in the idea and felt it no longer fit the game. Number 33. At the MTT Resort, you can now sleep in a wide bed for 200G while the theme Ultranap plays. The resort was originally planned to have a giant bed field with monsters in cryostasis to show how many were waiting to be freed, but the idea was scrapped. Other cut concepts included a playground with Monster Kid and the card game with Sans called Egyptian Ratfink, which was removed for being too difficult to program. Toby hinted that Sans' appearance at the Dock Casino in the Xbox version might be a nod to this. As for Burger Pants' dialogue, Toby had no idea what to write, so he just let despair flow. He also acknowledged the now fixed bug that displayed placeholder text referencing the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. To fix it, he added the dialogue about Mettaton and the Glamburger guy, which he described as fan service. Number 34. The core was a collaborative effort. The bridge graphics were designed by GGDG and drawn by Chess. The interior tiles were by Kenju, and the concept art was by Temmie. The area was meant to be much larger and more difficult, but Toby decided 5 enemies provided enough variety. He also showed early item concepts from before they had a coherent theme, including Papyrus's armor, cybernetic pajamas, Asriel's shirt, and the mysterious item called a Warmastat with an unknown purpose. Later, he shared concepts that did follow the Fallen Humans theme, like an explorer with hiking boots and a merit badge, and the naturalist with a bug net and a flower crown. Finally, he revealed the script for a cutscene where Papyrus would have called in to Mettaton's quiz show to help the protagonist. Number 35. Toby was concerned about the difficulty of the Mettaton EX battle. To test it, he created a separate program containing only the fight and gave it to his friends to see how many tries they needed. He considers it the hardest battle to design attack-wise, as the Yellow Soul mode required more effort than the others. In contrast, he had a lot of fun creating the ACTs and the rating system. There are also unused dialogue portraits of Mettaton EX showing a more robotic side of his face, These were intended for after his defeat, but were later adapted for Mettaton Neil's design. Number 36. After completing all of Mettaton segments, you can return to the Dog Shrine room and tell Sans about a new charity goal, a fight with him. Sans agrees for charity, though he admits he's not much of a fighter and expects to lose. The encounter begins, but before you can do anything, Sans walks out of the room, forcing the player to flee and ending the battle. Number 37. After the fight with Mettaton EX, we reach New Home. The mood shifts dramatically as we learn the tragic story of the Dreamers. This section's atmosphere is largely defined by its iconic music, Undertale. Toby revealed that the main inspiration for this track came from the song Red Line Day from the anime film Red Line. He pointed out an incredible coincidence. The song's lyrics, "You are the flower, I am the rain, without you, life is not the same," unintentionally fit the game's narrative themes. He also cited the song Numa from the movie Solanin as another major inspiration. Number 38. The opening melody of Asgore was inspired by the fog from Persona 4, so much so that the project file was named Persona 4.flp. The original version was much faster, as Toby sped it up so it would sound right when slowed down. The determination theme, also present in the battle, was inspired by the game over music from Brandish. The pre-fight game over screen that foreshadows Asgore also came from Final Fantasy Legend 2. Other inspirations for the character include the final boss of Brandish and Eamon from Lufia 2, who inspired his golden armor. The battle was designed to be difficult but manageable for bullet hell newcomers, so several assists were included. Asgore attacks always leave you with 1 HP, his defense can be lowered with the butterscotch pie or by waiting, and the bicycle was made to be super useful / broken on the true pacifist route. Number 39. During the Omega Flowey fight, the room where the hosts were streaming began to be overgrown with Flowey's parts. Everdread, one of the contributors, joined the stream to talk about his experience creating Omega Flowey, describing the process as intimidating but also very meaningful. Toby explained that the battle's goal was to make the player feel overwhelmed and hopeless at first, to the point of believing it was unwinnable. To achieve this, he used disproportionate damage. Attacks deal massive damage when the player has high HP, but very little when they're low. This creates the illusion of unfairness while ensuring the fight is still winnable. Number 40. Toby hinted that the human face on Omega Flowey's screen is his own. The high contrast monochrome effect was achieved by exploiting a bug in an old version of the Super Game Boy camera app. He was worried that the battle's large number of graphics would increase compilation time, so he programmed the entire boss fight in a separate project before integrating it into the main game. He initially used placeholder graphics and programmed a method for them to be replaced at runtime, allowing Everdread to see his creations implemented immediately. Toby also shared his sound design philosophy, explaining that he intentionally used low-quality .wav files because he believes compression gives them character and that the unclean sound fits his aesthetic. Number 41. When Everdread created the assets for Omega Flowey, he had only seen the ruins, having contacted Toby to offer help right after playing the demo. Because of this limited context, he was blown away by how different the full game was, and expressed his pride in having worked on what he considers its climax. Toby also confirmed that the main synth in Your Best Nightmare is the Pad Freak Wire preset from the Ultimate Citrus Pack for FL Studio, noting his interest in presets that are useless for any normal song. Notably, both Toby and Everdread repeatedly referred to this form as Omega Flowey, potentially canonizing a name that was long considered fan-made. Number 42. After reloading your save file after defeating Omega Flowey, you can return to the Dog Shrine. Upon learning another charity goal has been met, Sans is asked to fight. Surprised that anyone would donate for such a thing, he agrees to do it for charity, but only once. Another encounter begins, this time allowing the player to experience a full battle against him. However, it ends with an unavoidable attack that knocks the soul out of the battle box, causing it to flee immediately. Afterward, during the date with Alphys, Sans shows up in a Dr. Jogboy outfit before Papyrus appears in his regular Jogboy costume. Number 43. In the True Lab, pulling back the shower curtains reveals a strange creature made of photorealistic human body parts. The creature says, "You should knock," in an audible voice, and then vanishes. The graphic file for this creature is named Manners as a joke. Additionally, the hallway leading to the DT extraction machine now has laughing mouths on the walls. Number 44. During the final battle, Omega Flowey now uses some of his unused faces when confronting the 6 human souls, and his dialogue is slightly altered to, "The souls, what are they? Hey, you guys aren't going to..." Asriel also has new dialogue while being saved, which replaces the original text on his 7th turn. He now says, "I'm not ready for this to be over. It can't have been a year already. It can't have been 5 years already. It can't have been 10 years already. It couldn't have been..." Everyone, everything I love can't just keep moving away. We can't move past this. Please, I don't want to grow up, not without you. Finally, after the regular credits, a new graphic featuring the main cast appears, followed by additional credits for this modified version of the game. Number 45. Before the last corridor, there is a new path next to the elevator. After the Return to New Home charity incentive was met, this path was revealed to lead to a populated grayscale version of Home, with a nose nuzzling competition at its center. Protagonists can receive nuzzles from Toriel, Papyrus, Undyne, and Monster Kid, each in their own unique way. The area is filled with new NPCs, including a crab referee in the contest, a hippopotamus painting a wall, and a griffin's paw. Interestingly, the balloons in this area look very similar to a balloon from Chapter 5, which was shown in the Fall 2024 newsletter. Number 46. In the True Pacifist epilogue, you can return to the dog shrine one last time. Before the player can speak, Sans anticipates the question. He admits he appreciates the charity stuff, but that fighting isn't his thing, explaining that for him, right and wrong aren't just numbers. Instead of fighting, he suggests doing something kind and offers a hug. If the player accepts, they fall for his full-body whoopee cushion trick. Papyrus enters upon hearing the noise, and after Sans explains the joke, Papyrus declares it brilliant, but only for one-time use. The two brothers then leave. Number 47. After defeating Asriel, Glide appears in front of the mystery door, revealing that he finally forced it open after 10 years. This removes the need to complete the True Pacifist credits without touching any names. Inside is the familiar dog room, but the annoying dog is gone, revealing a hole in the center of the room that leads to the exclusive dog hole area. Number 48. The dog hole is a strange place, described as a living labyrinth, filled with a decade's worth of accumulated dog hair. Its single save point reveals it has 100 floors. However, only the first room was explored, as the host decided it would be too long for the livestream. Here they fought Aberrant and Mr. Sunshine, a cut enemy from Undertale's hard mode, as well as two unnamed enemies who appeared upon exiting, both of whom were immediately fled from. The game's assets refer to these last two as Vitamoid and Wintercoat. Number 49. Returning to Old Home after the pacifist ending reveals new dialogue. A Frogget explains that the fallen humans were all different. Some fought, some fled, and some stayed with Toriel, though it doesn't say what became of them. Gerson appears in the Toy Knife building to talk about the war and how the truth of it was distorted over time. He claims he never hated humans and didn't resist with all his might when he was sealed away. He then reveals something shocking. Sealing the monsters was an incredibly costly act for humanity, as they lost their own magic in the process of creating the barrier. Gerson concludes with a confession that changes everything. Nobody wanted that war. Friendships, businesses, and even interspecies marriages were lost when the barrier was created. He reminisces about one of the human mages, hinting at a very close relationship and transforming the war from a distant myth into a personal tragedy. Number 50. Despite how incredible this anniversary version is, Toby explained why it will never be playable. He likes the game as it is and describes these new areas as a what if, but one that, he says, was always there. He reminds us that all the monsters have lives, homes, and friends, even if we don't see them. Imagination, he says, can break those boundaries. It's not a hidden truth, but a reminder that we've always been able to go further, if only we ask ourselves what lies beyond the horizon. All in all, the event was a massive success for Fangamer and Toby Fox, raising over $336,000, not including auction items like a TV diorama that sold for nearly $14,000 and a giant Toriel plush that went for $11,000. They broke the record set by the Spamton sweepstakes, a feat Toby managed while battling COVID and running the risk of mentally blanking out on stream because he felt so ill. He even had a button ready to display a poison version of the annoying dog just in case.